Hey guys, it's Cece, and today I am going to be talking about fandoms, conventions, and a very cool new release. So this video is a paid promotion by Disney Book Group, and today I am going to be talking about one of their new releases, Ship It. Ship It is a brand new book that was just published at the beginning of May by Britta London, and today I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, and then we're going to talk some cool convention stuff. Ship It follows a 16-year-old girl named Claire who is obsessed with a TV show called Demon Heart. She loves it online, she wrote an extremely popular fanfic for it, and she is absolutely sure that the main character of the show, who's played by an actor named Forrest, is gay. And then Claire finally gets the chance to go to a convention and go to a Q&A where Forrest laughs at her for assuming that his character is gay. This is super devastating for a person who has put so much effort and work into this show that she loves so deeply. And then a video of this Q&A goes viral online, and the production crew for Demon Heart has a major publicity problem on their hands. So, to increase their image within the LGBTQ+ community as well as with their fans, they invite Claire along to go with the cast on the rest of the publicity tour. This leads to a variety of Comic-Con antics, clashes between the show and its fans, and a journey of both Claire and Forrest. Claire as she slowly is coming out of her shell, and Forrest as he learns to maybe question the assumptions he made about his sexuality. Plus, wound into all of this is Claire trying to finally get herself to make a move on Tess, the fan artist who she is definitely crushing on. Ship It is a book made for those who love fandom, and I'm sure, just reading the description of this book, you are already drawing comparisons to other books like Queens of Geek, Fangirl, and Geekerella. So if you are at all intrigued by that premise, or if you just love fandom and you want to read a book that's celebrating fandom, then go check out Ship It, which is already in stores. Get out there, celebrate the fandom love. This is definitely going to be a fun release for this year. Now, like I said in that description, Ship It is all about conventions and having a ton of fun at conventions, so I thought it would be fun to talk about some of my favorite con moments. Before we get into convention stuff, I guess I should explain I am currently cosplaying, in case you didn't know, Jillian Holtzman from the 2016 Ghostbusters. This is by far my favorite thing to put on. It just makes me feel happy, and I have a lot of fun getting ready and putting on my Holtzman gear. So, with that out of the way, let's get into some convention stuff. So, my first con story that I absolutely have to talk about is the convention that started it all, FantasyCon. FantasyCon really only ran for 1 year in Salt Lake City. It was the first time the convention had ever happened, and it was in 2014. I didn't really have any money, I didn't have a job, so I decided to be a volunteer 2 days at the convention so that the third day I could do all of the fun stuff. At that convention, my very first convention, I was also going to be cosplaying Arya Stark from the show Game of Thrones. Now, I happened to run into a guy on day 2 of FantasyCon, a guy named David Baxter, who was cosplaying the Hound. He is this huge guy, 6'8", and he towered over me. And as soon as I walked up to him in my volunteer shirt to get a picture, he said, "Oh man, it's a shame that you aren't cosplaying Arya." So of course I had to let Dave know that the next day, no worries, I would be in full Arya gear. And immediately, he got excited. He was asking for my phone number, he was asking for pictures of the cosplay because he was entered in the cosplay competition the next day, and he knew he could get me involved as well. The next day, I showed up in my full Arya gear, and it was incredible. We were mobbed. People were taking pictures of us all day long, and what's really fantastic is that Dave is actually involved in a lot of production stuff. He's originally from California, so he knew a bunch of the stars at the convention. I met Doug Jones, who is an incredible actor that you probably know from movies like Hellboy and Hocus Pocus, or maybe the Oscar award-winning The Shape of Water. I got to meet Doug Jones, I got to hang out with him, I got to hang out with Dave and really experience an incredible first convention. Plus, I did get to enter the group cosplay contest, and we won a fair amount of money. It was an ideal first convention experience, and I still see Dave as often as possible at conventions. It was fantastic. Which actually leads me into one of my next favorite con moments, and that is New York Comic Con. Just later on that year, Dave messaged me to let me know that he would be coming to New York City, and as many of you know, I was in college in New Jersey at the time. I woke up at 4 in the morning, dyed my hair brown, put on my Aria gear, got on the train, got on a subway, got to Dave's hotel room, finished it up so we were both in full gear, and then we went to Comic-Con. Now this is one of my favorite con experiences, but also one of the most overwhelming experiences of my entire life. When I say we got mobbed in FantasyCon, that was a low-key convention. Not that many people were there. But to be mobbed at New York Comic Con is a different story. We couldn't walk anywhere. We couldn't get anywhere. Dave, like I said, is this mammoth, and he is in full armor, and basically to get anywhere, he would have to walk in front of me, and I would just have to tag along as fast as I could behind him, because there was no way little 4'11" me was going to push through those crowds. People were taking pictures of us. We went out to the specific cosplay part of the convention at New York Comic Con where a lot of the professional photos are taken. It was completely overwhelming. We also got to be involved in a video about con safety and con etiquette, which was hysterical and so much fun. When I got there, I didn't think I was going to be doing anything like that, and then all of a sudden, I was in a video with Dave, which was fantastic. But what was awesome about that year is that we made a number of lists for best cosplays at New York Comic Con. Honestly, so much about that convention is a blur to me because I was running around, I was trying to keep up, Dave was melting in his armor, but it was also one of the coolest experiences of my life, and I will never forget it. Also, if you Google Arya and the Hound cosplay, we are the first result, because we're that good. As a quick story, I went to a really cool convention with Janelle once called Atlantic City Boardwalk Con. I believe it was also that convention's first year, and we took a road trip down to Atlantic City, hung out for a couple of days, and did some fun stuff at that convention. I was also in cosplay there. I think just Arya. I think that was the only cosplay I had going, although I have a lot more now. But while we were there, the only quick story I have to tell, and I don't know if this is a favorite or least favorite moment of a convention, but William Shatner physically bumped into me twice. Like, the first time he bumped into me and I looked up and I was like, "You're William Shatner." And he didn't apologize and he just walked away because that's kind of how William Shatner is. But what was ridiculous was when it happened a second time later that day. Like, sir, I know you're big, I know you're famous, and I know that I am very small, but I am in, like, full cosplay. I've got a fake sword on my hip, you know. But that's just the kind of guy William Shatner is, and so I will always have the memory of William Shatner, like, knocking me a couple of feet back as he just blatantly runs into me twice in one day. I also did New York Comic Con with Janelle once, and that was a ton of fun because I did cosplay all 3 days. Arya one day where I did meet up with Dave again and we took some pictures. I also cosplayed Joy from Inside Out, which is a super fun cosplay. And on the last day, Janelle and I did a couples cosplay of characters from Bob's Burgers, and that was fun because it was really low-key, but we also got pointed out by a few other Bob's Burgers cosplayers. One of my absolute favorite things that ever happens at conventions is if you go in cosplay, other people who are also from your show will shout at you across open rooms, and you'll just have to point at each other and then try to find each other within the crowd so you can take pictures. It's such a fun experience. I remember at New York Comic Con when I was Joy running into 2 other cosplayers who were from Inside Out. I think they were Anger and Disgust, and they pointed at me, we ran into each other, and they were like, "You're not going to believe this. We have a full group, and the only person we have missing is Joy." And then they pulled out a missing poster that they had made so that they could find a Joy at the convention. And they found me. Here's the thing. I love conventions. I love being a part of them. There's a certain rush in dressing up and in seeing other people who are just as enthusiastic about something as you are. Fandom sometimes feels like a very solo experience. You're in your room watching a show, maybe you get together with a group and watch a show, but fandom itself is online. I spent years on Tumblr. I spent years and years writing fan fiction and reading fan fiction about Supernatural. I read fan theories, I watch discussion videos, but all of this is generally solo. So there's this moment where you go into a convention and everyone is wearing cosplay and everyone's excited and talking about the same stuff, and it's just incredible. It's this rush, and even though it's incredibly overwhelming, especially a big convention like New York Comic Con, it can also just be this memory that sticks with you. The thing is, fandom means so much to me. Reading and writing supernatural fanfiction is part of how I figured out that I was gay. I was writing about these two characters who I knew were in love despite the fact that the show wouldn't admit it. And in doing that, it helped me realize that I was also in love with someone. I love seeing myself in fandom, and I love being able to express myself through fandom. I am not the most extroverted person. I think I've gotten better with time, but I'm very internal, and sometimes I'm overwhelmed by the faces around me. And one of the things that I love about cosplaying is that for a day I become someone else. I am not Cece wandering through Comic-Con desperately trying to figure out what's happening. I'm Arya Stark, and I can smirk at a camera, and I can pull out a sword, and I can feel confident in myself. I am not the person sitting behind a booth like I was at Salt Lake Comic-Con last year. I am the Doctor, and I'm excited to be there, and I get to banter with people and talk about their favorite characters in our favorite shows. The character that I felt the most comfortable of all time cosplaying is Holtzman from Ghostbusters, because Kate McKinnon is queer and she reads as queer in Ghostbusters, and that means so much to me. And there is just something about putting on these overalls and these glasses and this necklace that makes me feel like I'm okay with myself, and I can't wait to take on the day and just be bold. I love the chance to be bold. And with that, I think I'm going to wrap up talking about conventions and fandom and all of my favorite things in the world. Be sure to go out and pick up a copy of Ship It by Britta London. Celebrate your fandom. Celebrate being passionate about something. It is a wonderful, wonderful thing. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!